Welcome to another episode of Real Estate Unleashed. I am your co-host, Bridget Quinn. You can find me on social media, B. Quinn Realtor.
And I'm Regan Hildebrand. You can find me on social media at Realtor Regan. Welcome, Bridget, for part 3.
I'm not throwing gang signs. It's number
W's
3.
for winning. We're talking a little bit in our series about loan products and different loan types. And, as always, it's sometimes can feel a little mundane, but it's real important that
It is.
Everybody understand what your options are.
For sure.
Yeah. And if you are in the very lucky camp of being eligible for today's topic of a VA loan or Veterans Administration, which is available, as you might guess, for military, former military people with certain amounts of service. It all depends. We won't get into the finer details of what qualifies you for a VA loan, but
they're really good loans.
Very good loans. And if you are qualified, you probably are aware of. If you're not, check with the Veterans Administration. There are certificates of eligibility that veterans get that qualify them for a VA loan. And VA loan is, like I said, one of the best.
It is one of the best. I've done several, and I know you have too.
Yep. It's actually usually a pretty smooth process. VA loans like the FHA we talked about last week get this bad rap as being difficult.
They're not. To me, they're just like conventional as far as process and smooth. I mean, a lot like FHA too. I mean, you have some bumps in the road or small things you have to do a little different, but overall the process is easy peasy.
It's certain things to keep in mind, which we're going to kind of go over real quickly. When you're dealing with a VA loan, either as a buyer or maybe you're presented with one as a seller, or you're an agent that just maybe doesn't deal with this all the time. If you're watching, want to kind of just quickly breeze through of what you could expect when it comes to a VA loan. Like you said, overall, they work a lot like a conventional loan. They are government backed, so there's some processes that you have to be mindful of and look for. But for most people, pretty easy peasy.
Yeah. I think most of the time when we've had the VA loans, you haven't really seen any differences behind the scenes.
No, when you're dealing with it behind the scenes, it doesn't feel out of the ordinary. The key thing I think people need to realize is the nice thing about VA is, whereas FHA has a rule book, like there are things that just have to be followed because it is what it is. Go by the rules, can't vary, can't deviate from that. The VA book is a guidebook, not a rule book.
Right.
And there's a lot more flexibility.
There is.
Both for the lenders that are dealing with them and for the Veterans Administration gives them that flexibility.
Flexibility and the leeway. And that's why it's important to have a good lender who knows the ins and outs of the VA or FHA, even conventional loans, what they can and can't do, or what, as you say, that little wiggle room that they have to play with.
Yeah, having somebody in your corner that understands the process on the loan side is more important than anything else when you're dealing with VA, especially because if you run into something that feels like a roadblock, it might not be. There might be that
it could
flexibility.
be more of a hiccup, or have to do certain things to accommodate, get past a condition maybe.
Exactly. But there are 3 things, though, that a VA appraisal, which is considering the value of the property, is always going to look for. And that is just making sure that the property is safe, sound, and sanitary.
Yep.
Safe, obviously, it has to be safe to live in. The Veterans Administration doesn't want to put anybody in to a home that's not safe. We don't want to either.
No.
But sometimes you get fixer-uppers, and maybe you're thinking, well, it's not safe currently, but we'll make it that way. Well, unfortunately with VA, it's got to be safe from day one.
Right.
Sanitary, easy. You've got to have, obviously, a clean, habitable place.
Some places are certainly questionable.
It can be questionable. So plumbing's got to work right.
Right.
If you're dealing
figuratively and literally.
Exactly. If you're dealing with a septic tank, you're going to have a septic inspection to
For sure.
check that out. In 90% of the cases, you're going to need that. And then the sound part is, is everything sturdy? Is it a sound place? In other words, the walls aren't going to fall in on them. Yeah. Yep. So the appraiser might get underneath and look at a crawl space if it's there, or might peek inside the attic to look at the trusses.
Right.
Just really simple stuff. But for the majority of homes, they're going to fit that from day one anyhow. Not a big hurdle for people. The biggest thing, though, for VA is that it's 100% financing in most cases. So nothing out of pocket for down payment. You're still going to have your deposits, still going to have your inspection costs. There are certain pieces that people have to keep in mind on inspections with VA. The VA doesn't allow the buyer to pay for certain pieces.
Pest inspection.
Pest inspection is the big one. So wood destroying insect report, they call it, WDIR. We're just looking for termites, powder post beetles, carpenter bees and carpenter ants, things like that. The seller has to pay for that, or it has to be, maybe you can get lucky and you can get it kind of comped by the inspector if you're doing other inspections.
Or other people
in the mix, but just
I know I've done some
out of pocket,
just out of pocket as a courtesy for certain things. So
either way, they just limit how much the buyer themselves what different things they can pay for. Compensation too. Sometimes with these creative financing, we ran into this a couple years ago when people were using outside organizations to help turn the offers into cash. VA doesn't like that. There's ways to get around things. Again, it's a guidebook, not a rule book.
Right.
So just have to have.
I think that's a good way to look at it.
Yeah.
But I feel like VA loans are very competitive, even rate wise.
Super competitive.
You know, that's what they're there for. The government backed, very secure, competitive rate. So, if you're a vet, why wouldn't you use a VA loan?
Correct. Yeah, it's a no-brainer. You have that entitlement to use it. Make sure you're using it. There's also some little tips and tricks that we end with. The big thing that I think a lot of people don't realize is they get tripped up on the VA loans is it has an origination fee. And that's the fee that the VA charges to basically process the loan for you. But here's something that people might not understand or know is if you're a veteran that has any sort of, during your discharge, a disability. So if you're at 100% disability, you have no origination fee. If you're at 50% disability, then you're only going to pay half of that, so forth and so on. Big savings.
Take advantage of it.
Yeah. And you have to ask for that in some cases. But if you have a good lender, they're going to let you know up front so that you're not missing out on that opportunity to a lot less out of pocket. Yeah.
I like VA loans.
I love them. I got frustrated a few years ago when all this madness started at the beginning. Actually, I don't even think it was the beginning of COVID. I think it was before then. There was a multiple offer situation that I got into representing a buyer on a VA loan. And the listing agent told me that his sellers didn't want to take a VA offer. And I said, why? The house is only 5 years old. What could be wrong with it? And he said, there's nothing wrong with it. They just don't want to deal with the headache of a VA loan. It couldn't be further from the truth.
Misinformed.
Absolutely. And, I got upset because this was a veteran who was just recently honorably discharged using their entitlement to purchase a home. And I said, why are you denying this vet an opportunity to get into a good house? It's a competitive offer. He said, well, I advised them that VA loans are difficult. That's where you run into real estate agents stepping over the line, in my opinion, and getting outside of what is best for their sellers.
As you can see, that's a pet peeve.
It really gets me going when I think about it, that there are still agents out there incorrectly advising their clients on what is a good fit.
And if you don't know, you're unsure, that's where you can refer out to others or work with a lender to explain the differences on their side of things. I mean, don't be ill-informed about something like that. That's why we're here.
Yeah.
To share the knowledge.
If you have things that you've heard about VA loans, or even the other ones that we talked about, FHA and conventional, leave a comment, reach out to us, let us know what kind of hearsay rumors or speculative nonsense you might have heard in the past. Hearsay. We'll be happy to debunk it.
Oh, hearsay, that takes me back to the Johnny Depp trials. Hearsay.
Anyway. Yeah, we should put some of these people on trial. publicly for the
shame.
Yeah, gosh. But yeah, just don't be hesitant to use that entitlement. It's a great opportunity to get into a really good loan that there's not many products I can think of that can beat a VA loan. Yeah.
I would say it gets a bad rep for absolutely no reason.
None at all. No. No.
I'll work with VA loans all day long.
Yeah, if you're out there and you don't want to deal with a VA loan, pass the loan to us. We'll gladly take that client and that loan product.
Absolutely.
But as always, leave your comments, your questions, and your feedback down below. Hit that subscribe button and the little bell there to get notified.
And I think we have maybe one more episode to finish up the series talking about loans.
Yep, we'll handle a little bit of the miscellaneous oddball stuff. And if there's ones that you've heard about and have questions out, again, let us know so we can cover it. Otherwise, I am on all social media at Realtor Regan.
And I am on all social media, B. Quinn Realtor. And you know what to do. Subscribe, share, leave that comment, and we'll catch you next time.
Thanks, everybody.